This is African American History is American History. Welcome. I'm your host, Harlan Kearsley. This program's goal is to foster understanding, promote discussion, and expand knowledge through stories of historical events, bios of unsung heroes, as well as timely and relevant news stories that hopefully will paint a vivid picture of the effects of segregation, discrimination, and bigotry on the lives of both blacks and whites. Comparisons will be made between the many racially fractured periods of American history and what's going on right now. The Hate Bus was George Lincoln Rockwell's disturbing response to the Freedom Riders, black and white protesters who campaigned for the desegregation of bus stations in the Deep South. In 1961, Rockwell secured a Volkswagen van and decorated it with messages of hate, white supremacy, and anti-Semitic slogans. He dubbed it the Hate Bus and drove it, along with a small band of like-minded white supremacists, around the Deep South, spreading their message of hate. Rockwell proudly plastered his name all over the bus. George Lincoln Rockwell was a fascist, activist, and founder of the American Nazi Party, which called for racial segregation. He was a major figure in the neo-Nazi movement in the United States during the early 1960s. Unfortunately, his beliefs, strategies, and writings continue to influence many white supremacists and neo-Nazis. George Lincoln Rockwell was born on March 9, 1918, in Bloomington, Illinois. Rockwell briefly studied philosophy at Brown University before dropping out to join the Navy. He trained as a pilot and served in World War II and the Korean War in non-combat roles, achieving the rank of commander. Rockwell's politics grew more radical and vocal in the 1950s. He regularly praised Adolf Hitler, referring to him as the, quote, white savior of the 20th century, end quote. He denied the Holocaust and believed that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was nothing more than a tool for the Jewish communists desiring to rule the white community. He was honorably discharged due to his views in 1960. This is African American History is American History. George Lincoln Rockwell blamed the civil rights movement on Jews and viewed most of them as traitors. He viewed black people as a primitive, lethargic race who only desired a life of irresponsibility. Rockwell supported the resettlement of all African Americans in a new African state to be funded by the U.S. government. As a supporter of radical segregation and white separatism, he agreed with and quoted many leaders of the black separatism movement, such as Elijah Muhammad and early Malcolm X. Rockwell referred to Elijah Muhammad as, quote, the black people's Hitler, end quote, and even donated money to the Nation of Islam. In his later years, Rockwell became increasingly aligned with other neo-Nazi groups, leading the World Union of National Socialists. An FBI report on the American Nazi Party had this to say of Rockwell.
George Lincoln Rockwell is an egocentric and a chronic failure who created the shabby, small-time enterprise, which he named the American Nazi Party, in order to abate his tormenting ambitions to achieve fame. Carrying the war-tattered banner of a vanquished enemy the world would like to forget, Rockwell leads his heterogeneous army against an imaginary Zionist conspiracy. Distasteful costumes, contemptible slogans, and disruptive tactics have brought national attention to Rockwell, inflating him and his group far beyond their due.
To further spread his hateful message, Rockwell even founded a small record label named, wait for it, Ha'tenanny Records, based on the word hootenanny, traditionally referring to folk music performances, with artists including country singer Otis Cochran and the Three Bigots. The label released several singles that were sold mostly through mail order and at Nazi Party rallies and Klan meetings. Now, to say that these recordings were racist would be an understatement.
This is African American History is American History.
In 1966, after hearing the slogan Black Power during a debate with Black Panther Party leader Stokely Carmichael, Rockwell altered the phrase and started to call for, quote, white power, end quote. On August 25th, 1967, Rockwell was shot and killed while leaving a laundromat in Arlington, Virginia, only a few yards from where he lived. The shooter was John Palter, a former party member who was kicked out of the American Nazi Party by Rockwell for alleged, quote, Bolshevik leanings, end quote. According to the FBI report, following Rockwell's death, the hate bus was repossessed after a loan default. Marlon Brando portrayed Rockwell in the television miniseries Roots, The Next Generations, and won a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Limited Series or Movie.
This has been African American History is American History. The episode you've been listening to, George Lincoln Rockwell and His Hate Bus, was written and directed by Harlan Kearsley. The voice actor for this episode was Robert McKay as the FBI agent. I'm Harlan Kearsley, and on behalf of everyone here at African American History is American History, thank you for listening. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe. Once you do, you'll be notified as soon as new episodes are posted. Thanks again, and please stay safe. African American History is American History. Copyright H.C. Kearsley, 2024.